Guys, this card is insane. So, Warning Point is a new trap coming out in Phantom Rage. It's a secret rare, obviously. Like, I don't think anyone should be shocked by this. Historically, anytime anything new comes out that's even remotely decent, they're going to rarity bump it. But this card, I'm just, like, looking at it as I was watching the video on the reveals today. This card is nuts. Now, I admittedly was a little bit behind on some of the OCG stuff. I do remember seeing this card when it was first announced, but obviously, you know, things have been so hectic this year that it's easy to overlook them. But when I saw it, read it, I'm just like, this fits the game state perfectly right now. So for those of you unfamiliar with the card, we'll go over the effect quick. When a monster or monsters is summoned, this turn, that face-up monsters cannot attack. Its effects are negated. Also, it cannot be used as material for a fusion, synchro, Xyz, or link summon. That's a lot in a card. So it's basically a no material that you can set and that doesn't, you know, face the risk of Call by the Grave, as well as restricting attacks. But what's so good about it is that if your opponent's playing a deck where they're summoning multiple monsters at once, you can immediately shut off all of them and the board is essentially locked. There's been a lot of cards like this over the years that Konami's released that have become like what looks like it's going to be a staple trap. And I kind of, you know, wanted to talk about a few of them and sort of how they've panned out to acknowledge that it's very much possible that this may not follow the same route. But obviously, you look at Impermanence. Impermanence is an insane card. Probably the best hand trap in the game, and overall the best trap card in the game right now, if we're being realistic. Sees play in almost everything. The flexibility of being able to use it from the hand is definitely a benefit, but it's still a really, really powerful card. Breakthrough Skill's another one that is not very good anymore, but when it came out was a borderline staple in most decks, had graveyard utility, and was pretty hard to get for a long time, too. I don't think it's really that great anymore, although I guess if you're playing something that mills a lot, you can still find niche ways to use it. It's just kind of outclassed by Impermanence in every way, despite the double use. Dimensional Barrier comes to mind as well. This card was basically a must-play when any dominant format, Zodiac, back when Raging Tempest was out, and those sets, this card was just insanely good. And it's pretty good now that we've sort of come back to where links aren't the only application. It's just that for the most part, most of the side deck cards take care of that problem better than Dimensional Barrier does. That being said, if a deck comes out that's very Xyz heavy, Pendulum heavy, what have you, maybe even Tri-Brigade, this could be looked to as a side card if you're not playing it already. Another card that came out was $100 for the longest time, and just, you know, insanely good meta staple. Skill Prisoner is another one that had a lot of hype when it came out. I never really found this card to be great. This was kind of utilized when, like, Ophion was a thing. People were playing, like, Safe Zone, Evil Swarm. So this goes back a while, kind of dating myself in Yu-Gi-Oh! This basically stops something that resolves that targets a card at resolution. So, like, they play Book of Moon on your Ophion, you play the, it's a monster effect, right? So they, I don't know, effect Veil your monster, you play this at resolution, it negates that effect, and then you can do the same thing from the graveyard. So it was a neat card, and one of the only cards that sort of does what it does in the sense that it activates at resolution and protects from specific targeting. Forbidden Lance used to be played heavily back in those formats, so people were hyped about this card, but I don't think it really lived up to that hype. So ultimately, I bring up Warning Point here because it does sort of fall into the same vein as a lot of those other cards. It looks insane on paper, and I know people are going to be hyped about it. I know it's going to be a high-value card, and it's definitely going to warrant side deck consideration for sure. I don't know if it'll be a main deck card. It's still not a trap-heavy format. Like, we see people playing Imperm, Solemn Judgment, things like that, depending on the deck, but it still feels a little slow in comparison to some of the other cards right now. That being said, if things were to slow down, if people aren't main decking any kind of spell and trap destruction, I can definitely see a lot of uses where this card has really strong application. So what do you guys think? Is this the next meta staple, or is it just another card that's going to be super hyped on release only to end up being not as prominently featured in the metagame versus some other cards? Let me know down below. Obviously, I'm hoping to be able to pick some up. I'm sure a lot of people are. I do think it'll settle, or at least hold a price point that's relatively high. Remains to be seen whether or not it'll get the Starlight as well, or if that's going to go to something else. But I wanted to go over it and talk about it in comparison to some of the other traps over the years. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about the card and where you think it'll fit into the metagame. And before I wrap this up, I just ask if you guys have not already, please go ahead and hit that subscription button. We are trying to get to 3,100 before the end of the month. We are at 3,091 as of this video. So that means 9 more subscribers to go. We can hit 3,100. I will be doing a giveaway to start November, so definitely something to look forward to if we can get that number up a little bit. The support is always appreciated. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time, right here at Love Shack. Bye-bye.